What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome to TBM. And we are going to break down the Thursday night matchup between the Minnesota Vikings going on the road to play the Los Angeles Rams. Now, this is a very interesting number. It's a very interesting game. And I'm going to give you guys a lot of things that you're going to want to have to digest and take in because we have a lot of things going on. And this is a game where I'm probably going to be on the side that everyone else is. So it's going to be very interesting to break it down. And then hopefully at the end of this video, you have the best bet possible that you can make for this contest. Now, if you are noticing a little something different with this stream, this is not my normal setup. There's something wrong with the program and the software that I use. It's going through an update, and I didn't want to wait any longer. So apologies for getting this video out a little bit later in the day. But if you're new to the channel here at TBM, this is a perfect time to do so. Make sure you guys all like, comment, and subscribe down below. Subscribing and the like button is the most important thing you can do for us here on YouTube. I don't charge for picks. I do have a channel membership available for those who want to partake. That is down below in the description. But with that being said, let's get into it. And I want to share with you guys kind of my thoughts on this game. Okay. Also, before we get going, I usually do put my picks at the end of the video. This new program, StreamYard, that I'm using does not allow me to do so. So we will kind of post that in the comments as the day goes on. So probably around 2, 3 o'clock, I will put my updated plays. And if you watch my video, you'll know what side I'm on. You'll know what my picks are. And that's kind of how we're going to have to do it here until I get my software up and running. But I might end up using this one from now on. I might get the premium package. I kind of like what they have to offer. It's a little bit more seamless, but there are some pros and cons to both sides. So not too techies in that regard. So we're going to see what happens and get down to it. Okay. So without further ado, let's get into Outlier. We're going to be looking at this game. Now, I want to share with you guys some of the prop insights that I do like. Okay. And this is a great thing about Outliers. I can sort it basically into the market that I want to find in terms of odds or what exactly I'm looking at, and just some that jump off at the page at me. Okay. We are going to also kind of filter out the fact that we're not going to offer any of the bets that are coming out from sports books such as Prize Picks and Underdog, just for kind of intensive purposes with getting this the way that I want to share with you guys my picks. But Sam Darnold not getting over 267 pass and rush yards. We look at basically 80% of his games does not eclipse that number. Okay. We can talk a little bit more so about this. The big thing for me, guys, in this spot is the injuries. Okay. Injuries, travel, all that good stuff. I do think Matthew Stafford's going to throw the ton out of the football. I do think Justin Jefferson over longest reception is a very nice prop in terms of that. He's hit that 86% of the time out of his last 7 games. The Los Angeles Rams, 16.7% hit rate as an underdog straight up on the money line. Okay. So that's something that lends towards 83% on Minnesota, minus 148. And that's probably going to be the side that I'm on. I'm waiting for a line movement here to validate that position. Okay. Also, Kyron Williams, touchdown horse. Okay. Minus 170 is a lot of number to take in. It's a lot of juice, but I'll lay it with him because he does score quite often. Okay. Also, 10 out of the last 12 games, he does go eclipse that 17.5 rushing attempt number. Okay. In the Vikings, 70% ATS on their last 10 games on the road. Okay. Now, let's talk about it. Okay. Let's talk about it before we get into the odds. And this is going to be something where I share with you guys my thoughts on this in its entirety. Everything's screaming at you that the Minnesota Vikings are the play. Okay. We all know home field is basically extinct in terms of that advantage to the number. It's around a point and a half. Okay. If that, some people don't even believe it in anymore. All right. Now we've seen this number get bet down from 3.5 to down to 2.5, and we have settled upon a 3. Now, what I'm looking to validate is I want to make sure that this number does not go in the opposite direction. Now, the reason why I say that is we are seeing an overwhelmingly amount of the money on the Minnesota Vikings. Okay. So yeah, that number growing to 3, it does make sense. We are flashing 3, and we have seen it. You can take a juiced up 2.5 right there in the market. My numbers and power rankings have this number set at around a 5.5, a 6, okay, on a neutral field. So we need to look at the Minnesota Vikings here because this is extremely relevant, okay? Playing Detroit at home, that was a bloodbath game. You could see what exactly went down. Minnesota gave up a decent amount of rushing yards. Supposed to be a vaulted defense. They blitz a lot under Brian Flores. But 31 points to Detroit Lions in a game that they were dominating in the first half, getting their own. They were taking it to them on the ground. Aaron Jones played phenomenal. and Sam Darnold looked poised. Okay. Now, Detroit, albeit, was minus Aiden Hutchinson. So that's something to take into consideration. But now we see that game flying over the total of 50. We come to this game at a total set at 48.5. But my biggest takeaway is the fact that, let's talk about it. All right. Look at the schedule for the Minnesota Vikings as they come into this game at a 5-1 record, and they are 5-1 against the spread. Okay. Absolutely fantastic. And 2-4 to the under. Or I'm sorry, 4-2 to the under, 2-4 to the over, if we want to get real technical with it. Now, this is, by all accounts, the surprise team in the NFL, the best team for my money that has had the best start of the season. Okay, just not solely because they're 5-1 and 5-1 ATS, but because they're doing it with Sam Darnold and they weren't supposed to be doing it. Okay, albeit you could probably think that the Lions are the best team in the NFL. There's a couple at the top in the AFC: Baltimore, Kansas City, but those are probably the three top teams at this current moment in time. But we talk about past that big three, and it's crazy to put Detroit in that same sentence. As a Cleveland fan, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But little changing of the guard here. Okay. I want to get into the Rams narrative. Okay. After I talk about the schedule, because this is where I see this being a tough spot for the Vikings. Okay. You start off the season. You start off the season at the Giants. Okay. You win 28-6. Everybody thinks, okay, Minnesota, wow, Giants are that bad. Well, Giants have looked a lot better since that week 1 performance. Now you have San Francisco at home. Win that game 23-17 in comeback fashion, down 10 points in the fourth quarter. You take care of Houston, which CJ Stroud, a little sophomore slump, kind of called that one a little bit. I don't evaluate and judge quarterbacks till after week 3. So then you had them take care of business at Houston at home, 34-7. Yeah, you go on the road to Lambeau, you win 31-29, and then you take care of the Jets in London. Okay. Now, that 23-17 game was very eerily similar to the trend we saw with Detroit. Dominate the game early, open up that back door late in the game. Okay. But the point I'm trying to make is this is a horrible spot for Minnesota. Okay. By all accounts, you look at the Rams, these players, they look at scores, they look at the standings, they see the numbers. They see a 1-5 team that they're traveling on the road to play after getting done at Lambeau, after getting done in London, and then taking care of Detroit in a bloodbath of a game. These guys, I think, have had the hardest start of the schedule if you look at their full breakdown of their schedule. All right. Giants, sure, but that was on the road. Okay. And that's something where that's not a good place to play and open up your season. And then you go San Fran, Houston, Green Bay, Jets in London, and Detroit. That has to be the hardest opening schedule of all the teams in the NFL. Maybe outside of the likes of Kansas City in terms of strength of schedule, because they kind of screw the Super Bowl teams. But I challenge anyone to tell me that it's not. And that's what's so impressive and why I say Minnesota has had the best start of the season thus far, going 5-1 to kick off this 2024 campaign. Now, we come into this game, and by all accounts, the injuries that we're seeing are amounting. You can look at kind of what's going on within the Minnesota squad. Okay, Aaron Jones is a little banged up, but he ran well against Detroit. We have both middle linebackers, the green dots there on the defenses. They're also going to be out for both teams respectively. And now we get a Los Angeles Rams team where Cooper Kupp looks to be playing. We do get Jordan Whittingham out for this game, or Whittington, whatever you want to call him. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. And then also Puka Nacua may make his return for all those fantasy owners that drafted him in the first round. Cheers to getting him back into the fold. I don't know if he's going to be on a pitch count. I don't know what this is going to look like, but I will tell you guys the numbers, okay? And this is all data you can look up for yourselves. The Los Angeles Rams are basically dead last in pass rushing allowed. The Minnesota Vikings, basically number 1 in most blitzes ran by the defense. Brian Flores, very attacking style of defense. Okay. Matthew Stafford handles that pretty well. We saw that in the Super Bowl going against Lou Anarumo within the Cincinnati Bengals, and how that all transpired as they took home that trip to Disney World, or Disneyland, I should say. Maybe they went to Disney World because they are on the West Coast. Okay. But that's outside of the kind of the discussion here. The discussion that we're going to talk about is kind of how this translates into a -2.5, -3 spot number for the Minnesota Vikings. I just don't see it. I can't agree with it. I can't get down with it. I don't really know why we have such a tight knotted game. By all accounts, it just seemingly everything is teed up for the Minnesota Vikings to tee off on the Los Angeles Rams. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the backstories going off the field. Okay. Most notably, the recent trade rumors where Cooper Kupp's going to go into Kansas City, Pittsburgh, or the likes of San Francisco, staying in division. All the teams desperate for wideouts. That's been a story and narrative. Also, talk about the trade rumor that we saw with the Sam Darnold news, where they might looking to do a quarterback swap between the Vikings and the Rams, where Stafford would go to Minnesota. Great receiving core, poised 5-1 playoff berth, and they just need that veteran superstar quarterback to push them over the edge. That Super Bowl tried and true quarterback. Okay, that pedigree. That kind of caught me off guard. Now, I can tell you one thing. Sam Darnold is a true professional. He's looked as the worst quarterback in the NFL, and this year he's getting MVP consideration. So coming in this game, I take it with a grain of salt. And as a professional, I'm not really too concerned with the Sam Darnold's side of this. However, in that Rams locker room, I think you really start questioning, okay, where is that locker room at? You lose Aaron Donald, that defense has never looked the same. Now you talk about Sean McVay going to the broadcast booth. Now you see a 1-5 team with a lot of potential to rebuild. Personally, I'd blow up the whole team. Okay. I'd send Stafford to a contender that has a quarterback injury, get a bunch of picks. And then I would send, Kyron Williams to a contender. He takes a contending Super Bowl team. And I hate to say it, but it's in division. But if McCaffrey, by all accounts, does not rebound, he'd be a great fit in that San Francisco run scheme. Okay, there's a lot of teams that he just is plug and play. One of the best pass blocking backs in the NFL. Kyron Williams would definitely be a highly vaulted trade candidate where you would bring in a lot of draft capital in terms of picks. Also, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, very young in his career. Sell high moment for him off an injury. The Rams could get a draft capital allotment that would rival a newly formed franchise. I mean, this is just something where they have the potential where if Sean McVay just says, hey, screw it, we're 1-5, let's go for that number one pick, sell the team, gut it, new stadium, I'm out, new coach, just take it over, start from scratch. I could see that. And that's kind of why I just don't agree with this number. And every bone in my body wants to just absolutely lay into the Minnesota Vikings -2.5. I'm not going to be able to do it, though. This is going to be a wait and see approach. I want to see where this money flows late to the game. But if anything, I am diving into that. I like that Minnesota. I want to see if that money line gets a little cheaper. Okay. I want to see if that money line gets a little cheaper. This could be a good, little Wong teaser, taking that 3 up past the key numbers. Okay, you can get Los Angeles with a +9 or +10 if you want to buy 7 points. If we do sniff that 6.5, it's going to be interesting. Okay. Now, the other thing we want to talk about is kind of the run game. Okay, we can dive into that world of it. Aaron Jones is running the football very well. Okay. And the other thing I want to share with you guys kind of is how we looked at Josh Jacobs in the Green Bay contest against Minnesota. Okay. He got 73 yards on the game, and that is something where Minnesota kind of struggles. If there's one hole to that defense, yes, it is kind of just if they don't get to the quarterback, they don't force pressure. They're a little bit vulnerable on the run. Okay. And that's something where I kind of look at, Los Angeles is a little vulnerable on the run. Like I said, one of the worst defenses in stopping the run. And that's where I can lend towards the argument that Aaron Jones has a big night. If there was a running back that I would take to find the end zone, okay. Obviously it'd be in a Minnesota backfield, to couple that with Kyron Williams. If you want to get into a little bit of a sleeper here, go off of the Ty Chandler number. Okay. Take the backup running back out of Minnesota. We might get a blowout in this game and he gets some run. You never know. I think there's some value on that. That number is pretty big. Okay. Also, if you want to fade some of the big time players in this game, returning off of injury, I'd be very curious to see where these receiver props stack up. I am going to pull that up for you guys right now as we look into the player props. And we are going to look into receivers because this is where I would look to go under in a lot of categories. Okay. So Jordan Addison, this is where I'm not going to really discriminate against these Minnesota receivers as we see him at 42.5. I kind of like the over in that, to be honest. If we're going to go back into this game and look at these player props, the ones that I'm most concerned about is going to be on the lines of the Los Angeles Rams players. Okay. So Cooper Kupp's receptions. Okay. We're going to see that sit at 6.5, going towards the under at +100. That's a bet that I really do like. Okay. Cooper Kupp off of an injury. Stafford blitz rate. I could see this one going under to 6.5. I think that's a spot where I have no problem kind of sailing on some of these Rams receivers. Okay. I think that possibly against this blitz rate, we will see Kyron Williams catch a lot of passes, a lot of balls out of the backfield. Look at his reception number. Okay. Not too keen on the Aaron Jones receiving targets. Or receptions, I should say. The Kyron Williams reception number, let's just take a dive at that. Okay, over 2.5. All right. So if we look at outlier, you can see that under is hit 60% of the time. The under 2.5 receptions at minus 125. I possibly would like to get on board with that. That's a great parlay builder, the over 1.5 there. But I do think there is some value taken plus 129 over that 2.5, albeit it hasn't hit the last 2 games. But if we do look a little bit back further in the last 10 games, I think this is something where we can dive into the numbers here where I do like that. Okay. Also, I want to share with you guys kind of what's going on in terms of this this bar chart where we do see this. This was a lot of playoff games. So for me, it's something where I do think he gets over 2.5. That would be a market that I dive into pretty well. Okay. Next, I want to share with you guys kind of the big prop that I'm looking at. Okay. And we are going to look at it because I think this is very relevant. I think this is a game where you can ladder the likes of you can ladder Justin Jefferson in the spot. Okay. We look at kind of the record here. Okay. We're going to take that Los Angeles Rams defense, and we are going to look into yards per play. They give up a ton, 26 in the NFL, where they do have a overwhelmingly advantage there on offense. So I look for a lot of chunk games for Jefferson. Okay. And then we can also talk about some of the receiving yards here and how they stack up against the wide receivers here on Minnesota. Okay. And this is where you're not going to really able to see it here for some reason. I don't know why they don't have it. They have passing yards. Okay. So that's not something I'm going to use as a kind of a determining factor because I don't agree with the quarterbacks that they're playing against. Okay. But that's kind of where I like to ladder Justin Jefferson. I think he has a potential to go off in this spot. Okay. And you can see here right now with his receiving yards, minus 165 at 75.5. I would feel very confident taking him all the way up past 100. So plus 150. I think this is a spot where you could ladder Justin Jefferson against this Rams defense. It's just kind of where I'm at. I think that the total set at 48.5 is something very, very kind of sheepish. I think it's a prime time total. I think this game could potentially even see some more over if we do get cut back and so on and so forth. Okay. We'll look at kind of this kind of market here within the touchdown scores. And I want to share with you guys kind of why. All right. Justin Jefferson over a half touchdown, minus 115. That's there and present. It's a little bit low. Not a lot of value there for me, although he will probably get in the end zone. But Kyron Williams, like I said, best number is minus 185 to score a touchdown. Not in love with that. Okay. And that's just kind of where I stand. So for me in this game, the best bet that we're going to talk about, there are a few of them. Okay. I do like the fact of the Minnesota Vikings in this spot. Outside of that schedule that they've had, this is really teed up for them to have a very strong showing here. We are going to look at kind of where the money is as we get into this game. Okay. 99% of the money is on the Minnesota Vikings. A little bit more of the handle on the spread, -3, albeit we do see a little bit more so towards the under 40%, 37%. So nothing too much in the betting splits that make me want to bet this game one way or another. It says this might be a fool's gold kind of a performance here. Okay. Minnesota, it's a tough scheduling spot, but we do get the likes of the Rams kind of in a sell the farm kind of opportunity here if they don't win this game. So the way I look at it is it's going to be a close fought battle and where you're going to want to have 3 points towards the end. And, the wise guys are right. Or we're going to get down to the end of the game and Minnesota is going to blow over their team total. And this is going to be an absolute bloodbath of a scoring onslaught against the Rams defense. So that's kind of where we're at. I think that you got to look into Minnesota here. The Rams are so injured. Both these linebackers are out. I think there's going to be scoring on both sides. I don't trust the health for the Rams. So my best bet here in this spot, and hopefully I gave you enough analysis where you can kind of get on board with what I'm picking up. But this is something where I think the Vikings, in terms of their blitz and the status of the Rams offensive line, that is the big weakness that I see in this spot. So I'm going to go with the Vikings. I'm going to play this all the way up to 3, possibly even diving into a alternate number with Minnesota. But I want to see kind of how this number moves, see where the money's at. Right now, it's a glaring, I would say, loss for all sports books if the Vikings win the game. So Vegas is going to need the Rams, and that's kind of a scary spot where, yes, the public side is the winning side sometimes, but I think there's going to be sharps on the Vikings, and I also think there's going to be kind of the amateur bettors as well. So when we talk about this game, it's Vikings or nothing for me. I know the sharper side is probably the Rams, but I just can't get on board with that. So we'll see how this kind of matriculates later on in the evening, and before I make my lock in my best bets. As always, guys, appreciate you watching. But my best bet for this game, and I know this was a fuller breakdown than normal, but it's something where I really wanted to get into it because there's a lot of numbers, and this is a prime time example of where the numbers do not meet the road. So, on paper, Vikings should roll, but something about this game is really, really fishy when I have this number set at a 5.5 or 6 point number there for Minnesota. So appreciate you guys watching. Let me know your comments down below. If you have not done so, make sure you subscribe here to TBM. Totally free. All you got to do is smash that like button and click that ball down below. That will basically allow you to get notifications when we do go live, when we do post content, we post videos and pics. That's how you stay in touch with the channel. Also, give me a follow on X, Discord, and if you want to get back to the channel, please become a TBM channel member down below as well. So good luck with your picks. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.